Hey guys and girls, Birchy here, got the whiteboard out, and today we're going to go on a little adventure. I'm scared. I don't know where this is going to go for everybody, but the title of today's video is how many hours do you need to work to buy a $1 million house, right? Very fitting in the world we live in today, right? Average house price, $1 million in every capital city. You want to buy a house. What's it look like? Let's break it down. So, if you want to buy $1 million house, first, there's the $1 million. Right? If you've got $1 million, cool, you can buy the place. But if you don't, you're going to have to get a loan. And let's say you put down a 20% deposit. Doesn't matter which way. I haven't broken this down into any other sort of numbers or anything like that. I'm just going a 20% deposit. And then I'm going to go a 5% closing costs. So I need $50,000. That's legal, stamp duty, whatever. So then that means that you're going to have to save $250,000. $250,000, that's a lot of money. Right? What does $250,000 look like? What's the average wage? I'm just going to go here, $25. Right? $25 an hour. I'd assume that would be, I don't even know what wages are. Maybe it's $40 an hour. Who knows, right? We're going to do two options here. So $40 an hour and $25 an hour. If we break down 250,000 divided by $25 an hour, that means we're going to have to work 10,000 hours to save a deposit. That's without tax. Let's just use it $40. And then after tax, it's $25, right? You're going to have to work 10,000 hours in order to save that deposit. 10,000 hours at 40 hours per week, that equals 250 weeks. 50 weeks in the year, 52 weeks in the year, let's call it 50. That's 5 years of saving, right? That's without eating. That's without anything, right? That's without paying for your car, your rego, your phone, your internet, Netflix, nothing, right? That's fucked. So if you want to buy a house for $1 million, you need to save 250 grand, save 250 grand at $25 an hour. That's 40 bucks. Who cares if it's 40 bucks before tax, 25 bucks, whatever it is. That's about 10,000 hours worth of labor that you have to put in. Divide it by 40 hours in a week. That's 250 weeks divided by 50 weeks in a year, 5 years it's going to take you. That's just to get there. That's without getting the seat at the table and looking at, okay, now we need to sell our soul for the rest of that, which is $800,000 for a loan. And let's say that you've gone and got a cheap loan at 5% interest rate. That's still 40 grand a year. 40 grand a year, 52 weeks, let's call it $800 a week. Per week. That's $20 an hour, times 40 hours in a week. So you're only going to be living off $5 an hour or $200 a week. Pretty fucking shit when you ask me, right? That's how rigged our system is for buying a house for $1 million. And let's go and look at what a $1 million house will look like. Maybe I'll get my editor to throw a few things up on the screen. Let's look at some properties, right? Because I'm sure we can go and look at what the cheapest houses in Sydney look like. They're fibro shit boxes in Western Sydney, Southwestern Sydney, gutters falling off, whatever. You're not getting a nice house for $1 million and you're not going to a nice area. If we go to a half decent area, you're spending $2 million to get into something half decent. You might get a red brick house with tiles on the roof. So what other options do we have in place? I don't know. I'm just going to break down the strategies that I work with all the time. Because I've never done this. I've literally never done this beforehand. To break it down, right? So that's how many hours you need to work in order to get $1 million property. Let's break it down. How many you need to get a 200 grand property? So a $200,000 property would mean that you need about $50,000 in total. which would mean a $40,000 deposit plus the 10 grand closing costs, which mean that you'd take out a loan of about $160,000 loan, which would say 5%, 160K, 5% would be $8,000 a year worth of interest. The $50,000 would mean about 2,000 hours worth of work, which would mean at $25 an hour, so 40-hour weeks, would mean that you'd need to work 1 year to save. 1 year. So to get a 200 grand property, you only need 1 year. But then you chuck a tenant in there at, say, $400 a week. You're spending 8 grand a year in interest. Let's say another 5 grand for council rates, water rates, strata fees, whatever. That means you're into it for $13,000 a year. 13,000 a year. 400 is 20,000 a year worth of income. So you can go the traditional route, go buy this house, be on the breadline for the next 30 years, 40 years, paying off your mortgage or just servicing the interest. Or you can go this option, buy a 200 grand property, 50 grand down. It'll take you 1 year to save the deposit. You've got a rentals income coming through. The rental income is spitting out positive cash flow. Let's just say it costs nothing, but it's just paying itself off. The view for this property is if you can buy 20 of them, that's an endless supply of these type of properties you can buy. You can buy one of these and have your nuts in the noose for the next 30 years, 40 years of your life. Or you could buy 20 of these things and they're all wiping their own nose with their own heart, lungs, respiratory systems there. Now, if you bought this property for 200 grand and you bought 2 of them, that means you're buying 400K worth of property. And if that doubles to 400 grand each, that means you've got 400 grand worth of equity in it. You can then now come back to this property, 2 of these properties, rip the equity out and use it as a deposit over here. The other thing is you've got the cash flow coming from here. If you have 10 of them, 5 of them or whatever, you can take that cash flow and pay for the mortgage there. So either you can be on the hook paying the mortgage for the next 30 years of your life, or you can have a whole pile of tenants out there that are strapped to the mortgage, paying your mortgages off for you. Which one do you prefer? That's been a fun exercise, folks. So if you need help on building out that portfolio, building out a strategy, you know where to find us, 1300 367 925, admin@binvested.com.au. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.